Dianetics is today's #1 self-help bestseller. It's sold many millions of copies in more than 22 languages. All over the world, people are learning and using Dianetics to improve their lives. There are lectures, seminars, and courses delivered in groups and centers. Hubbard Dianetics Foundations and Churches of Scientology. Dianetics has been changing people's lives since 1950. It's the only effective technology of the mind in existence. And any two people can learn and apply Dianetics to each other right at home. It's easy, and this program will show you how. You can be more positive and confident in life. The goal of Dianetics is a finite state called clear, an unrepressed person who operates on full self-determinism. You can be clear. This program starts you on the road to achieving that.
Dianetics completely changed my life. You know, before Dianetics, I'd had 2 failed marriages. I had this idea of how marriage should be, and I pretty much just given up and decided it couldn't be that way. And after reading Dianetics and getting auditing, I met a man who I've been very happily married to for 10 years, and I found out I was right all along. Marriage can be wonderful, and I have that now.
When I was 7 or 8, I had a bicycle accident, and I injured my knees. As a result of the injury, I lost all the feeling in my knees, and I couldn't run, I couldn't jump, and it caused a lot of problems for me. I didn't do well in school, and things just didn't go well. Doctors came, doctors went, trying to handle it, and nothing really worked. Then years went by, and I was introduced to Dianetics, and in the very first Dianetics session, we addressed my knees. I left the session and I felt great, but I wasn't really thinking about my knees until I got outside. And when I got outside, I felt the wind blow across my knees, and it was unbelievable. I felt my knees for the first time in years. Since then, I run and jump. I've done 8 marathons. I sail big boats up and down the coast, and the bad knees are just a forgotten part of the past.
When I first started doing Dianetics, I was very nervous and very skeptical about it. I couldn't believe that it was as simple to do as everybody was telling me. But right from the start, I found that it actually was. It was fun to do. I really enjoyed being helped and helping others. And the changes in my life were miraculous right from the beginning.
When I tried Dianetics, I was completely amazed. It really works. If you want to have a positive life, I urge you to try Dianetics and use the techniques. It's simple, it's fast, you get immediate results, and you get benefits that'll last a whole lifetime.
First, let's review some basic discoveries of Dianetics. What is the goal of man? What is the purpose of life? Time, space, energy, and life have a single common denominator. They all began at some point of origin and were commanded to continue to some nearly infinite destination. They obey a single order. Survive. The dynamic principle of existence is survive. Pain is physical or mental suffering. The ultimate pain could be just before death, and the ultimate pleasure could be conceived as immortality. The thrust of survival is away from death and toward immortality. Man, in affinity with man, survives, and that survival is pleasure. The survival dynamic is the tenacity to life and vigor, and persistence in survival. The survival dynamic subdivides into parts. These urges or motivations are called dynamics. The first dynamic is the urge toward survival as oneself. Here we have individuality expressed fully. This can be called the self dynamic. On this dynamic we have you. This includes all your personal possessions, your hobbies, your health, and so on. The second dynamic has two compartments. One is sex, and the other is the rearing of children. This dynamic is man's urge toward survival as a future generation. This includes the family unit and any family activity. It also includes sex as a mechanism to compel future survival. Dynamic 3 is groups, the urge on the part of the individual to survive as part of a group. That covers any kind of group, temporary or permanent groups, political groups, social groups, sports clubs, or anything like this. Dynamic 4 is survival through man as a species. This is the mankind dynamic. War is a breakdown on this dynamic. Accomplishing what you want in life involves making many decisions and solving many problems. The optimum solution for any problem would be one that achieved maximum benefit in all dynamics. Any solution that harms more dynamics than it helps would be a poor solution. For example, something that only benefits self but harms the group or mankind would be a contra-survival decision. The greatest good may require as well some destruction. For example, a new cure which saves many thousands of lives but kills one could be considered an acceptable cure. But the solution deteriorates in ratio to the destructiveness employed. The best solution to any problem is that which is the greatest good to the greatest number of beings. This is the basic equation of all rational behavior. The human mind is engaged in resolving problems related to survival on all dynamics. Intelligence is the ability to perceive, pose, and resolve problems. The human mind can be considered to have two major divisions. The first part is the analytical mind. Consider the analytical mind as a computing machine. It is more capable than any computer ever constructed. It never makes a mistake so long as a human being is reasonably intact. It is called the analytical mind because it analyzes data. The analytical mind has its standard memory banks. The data in these memory banks is filed in recordings called mental image pictures. Here's a demonstration you can do for yourself. Close your eyes and think of a cat. Did you get a picture of a cat? That is a mental image picture. These are three-dimensional color pictures with sound and smell and all other perceptions. These pictures are composed of energy and mass. They exist in space. They appear when somebody thinks of something. He thinks of a certain dog, he gets a picture of a dog. The mind contains a consecutive record of mental image pictures which accumulates through a person's life. This is called a time track. It is very exactly dated. If motion picture films were three-dimensional, had 52 perceptions, and could fully react upon the observer, the time track could be called a motion picture film. This information files straight into the standard memory banks. This file begins at a very early period. It then runs consecutively, whether the individual is asleep or awake, except in moments of unconsciousness, for an entire lifetime. It apparently has an infinite capacity. The full power of the mind would be the full power of the analytical mind, using the standard memory banks. You use the power of your analytical mind to solve problems in your life, figure things out, and even to create and imagine. Imagination is extremely valuable in solving problems in life. Sanity depends upon rationality. Here is optimum rationality, and therefore optimum sanity. And here also are all the things man likes to think man should be like. Or for that matter, what he has represented his better gods to be like. This is the clear. This is sanity. This is happiness. This is survival. Where is the error? Man is basically good. Man has been wrongly accused of being bad because man did not know about the reactive mind. This is the second part of the mind. In Dianetics, irrationality is called aberration, which is a departure from rational thought or behavior. It comes from the Latin aberrare, to wander from. It means departure from a straight line. It would also mean the lack of straightness, or to see crookedly. A man sees a horse, but thinks he sees an elephant. Where does this irrationality come from? Looking again at the analytical mind, we discover that it has gaps in it. There are moments when nothing seems to be filed in the standard banks. These gaps take place during moments of unconsciousness. The shock of accidents, the anesthetics used for operations, the pain of injuries, and the deliriums of illness are the principal sources of what we call unconsciousness. These missing periods can be found in the reactive mind. There are two things which appear to be, but are not, recorded in the standard memory banks: painful emotion and physical pain. During a moment of intense pain, the action of the analytical mind is suspended. The reactive mind kicks in, and these moments of physical pain are recorded in the reactive mind. When the individual is unconscious, in full or in part, the reactive mind cuts in full or in part. When he is fully conscious, his analytical mind is fully in command of the organism. When his consciousness is reduced, the reactive mind is fully and continuously recording everything. The reactive mind works on a totally stimulus-response basis. Stored in the reactive mind are engrams. An engram is a mental image picture of an experience containing pain and unconsciousness. It must have impact or injury as part of its content. The reactive mind continues to make pictures no matter how unconscious a person supposedly is. These engrams are a complete recording, down to the last accurate detail, of every perception present in a moment of partial or full unconsciousness.